Saquon could get hurt at any point. He's had his fair share of injuries over his career.
He
as well.
has.
Ankles and ACLs.
But I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion. So Saquon averages over 12 games a year. He's played for 6 years. He only played 2 games in 2020, which skews it. He had the ACL injury. Right. But in every other year, he's played 13 or more games. You have the option for your first running back between Saquon Barkley, the traitor of your New York Giants, or Will's guy out of Wisconsin, JT. Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. This is I prefaced this to you before we even started recording. Very hard question. I'm putting myself in the position of draft night, and if I had these two in front of me, I really don't know who I would take. But automatically in my head, and as much as Saquon has broken my heart, he's behind a pretty solid line of DeAndre Swift could get it done.
It is true.
And he's also more experienced, especially in the passing game. The sky's kind of the limit for this guy.
So I like that you brought up the DeAndre Swift option. So I pulled the numbers from him from last year, behind that Eagles O-line that has now lost Jason Kelce. DeAndre Swift was the running back 23 overall, and the running back 24 in points per game. So he basically played every single week.
Yep, got paid too.
He did get paid, got a big bag from the Bears.
Yeah,
a lot more money than he probably should have gotten.
Yeah, 100%.
But his numbers really weren't that good despite the big line. And now that opens up the other option of Jalen Hurts. How many touchdowns did he take away?
He's going to vulture from him, yeah.
Well, tush push.
Yeah, well, what we're saying, Jason Kelce is a big part of that tush push. How much will it be involved this time around, or how much efficiency will be there? I don't know. But if you're paying a guy back there that amount of money, and he could punch it in for you, I would say ease back on the tush push.
But it's so good.
I know it's so efficient, but again, you don't have the same formula as before. You're changing it a little bit. So how different? Is it going to be?
But they still have a stacked line.
I know.
They have two of the best tackles in the league.
A major point you're bringing up. I don't want any vulture touchdowns. That might be the worst thing in fantasy ever, when you'll have somebody just steal your touchdowns, especially in that fashion. That you don't want.
So Barkley is actually short of Taylor in points per game in terms of last year. Only by half a point, though. Taylor 13.7, Barkley 13.0. Barkley was running back 13 in total points because he played, I think it was 14 games. Taylor only played 10, sat out for the contract issue at the beginning of the year. But he's in a similar issue to Barkley that a lot of people don't know about, because Anthony Richardson, a rushing quarterback just like Jalen Hurts, only played 4 games at the beginning of the year without Jonathan Taylor. Scored 4 touchdowns in all 4 of his starts.
But he got himself hurt doing that. He
did.
Literally messed up his shoulder because he thought, I'm a giant person. Let me just run through all these people and do what I can. If he's going to ease back on it, I think it's going to look good for JT.
But that's his style of play.
It is.
You got to think about that. And not that he's not a good passer, but the Colts don't have the same amount of weapons at their disposal as the Eagles do. You got to think, as much as these guys are athletes, they're trying to win games, a lot of guys are pretty egotistical. You want your guys to try and get the ball. So you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Now you got Barkley. Big part of Hurts' game is the rushing game.
Right.
You got to spread the ball pretty far. When you go to Indianapolis, you have Michael Pittman.
Yep.
I can't even really think of other guys.
Leaving his prime abilities, I would say.
The plan is to have Anthony Richardson. So I think it is a good point that you bring up health in terms of Anthony Richardson not wanting to put himself at risk, but you could also make the same argument for Hurts. They might be a little more hesitant this year.
Right. And Saquon could get hurt at any point. He's had his fair share of injuries over his career.
He has.
Ankles and ACLs.
But I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion. So Saquon averages over 12 games a year. He's played for 6 years. He only played 2 games in 2020, which skews it. He had the ACL injury. Right. But in every other year, he's played 13 or more games.
Right. So
and I had the same notion as you, where it was
behind a terrible line as well.
Oh, yeah, they're awful.
Keep that, over the years.
So I think that's where you see some of the displacement in the points per game. I still don't know because of Hurts, as you said, vulturing those touchdowns away.
Right. That's the scary part for me. But I feel like in terms of Saquon's abilities, I think the talent is there to get it done, and I think he'll be a reliable source for people on their fantasy team. He'll probably put up RB1 numbers for sure. But you bring up a good point before. Jonathan Taylor is on a team where, again, you have the Michael Pittmans and then some other guys, and you obviously have Anthony Richardson doing his thing. But I'm a big fan in fantasy of looking into, if there's not a lot to spread around, I want to take the top guy, and Jonathan Taylor is one of those people. So that's where I'm kind of on the fence with that, because there's experience, and then there's how do I play this in terms of fantasy? How do I get the most points with the most ability to get the ball at any moment?
Yeah, because I think if you look at it from the standpoint of a pure runner, like Jonathan Taylor formerly led the league. He's an all-pro.
Yep.
He had 1,800 yards rushing before he had the contract holdout, or maybe he got injured, something like that. But 2 years ago, he led the league in rushing. Really good running back. Something that Barkley, I don't think he's ever led the league in rushing.
Who are you taking? What's your answer here? Because I went Saquon, and now obviously you swayed me both ways. I still don't regret it. If both were presented in front of me, I think I still give Saquon a chance, just because I'm in a PPR league.
So I think that you bring up a good point with Saquon, but for the sole fact that they have to spread the ball out a lot more, and the fact that Jonathan Taylor has proven that when he's healthy, he's going to run for more yards than anyone, I'm probably going JT.